Um, just make sure you're wearing the same thing then for continuity, right?
No, I'm not. I won't.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, Joe, and with me, as always, the man who always dips into his eggnog in October and just seems to lose less eggnog but have more random alcohol in between. Nick. How you doing today, Nick?
I'm doing good. You have to make sure to test the eggnog. I age my eggnog in barrels starting just after Christmas, so they have to be tested. It only takes a few months for them to mature, but you have to make several batches because sometimes there's a spoiled batch. Um, so yeah, I started doing that in October. Um, and yeah, I always get carried away. I just start just drinking just more liquor. But that's
Well,
been a
I
it's more like a year over year thing than
okay.
just by the month. I guess it's the people in my life that drive me to drink.
Uh, Truer things have never been more spoken. All right, so I've actually introduced my in-laws to just in Bailey's just in general because I'm like, yeah, here's the holiday season. Let me get you like a giant thing of Bailey's. This will last you till like midsummer till a birthday, and then I'll restock you then. And then when it comes back to Christmas, I'll restock you then. So they never buy themselves alcohol. I'm the one who helps support their drinking habit, which means they just don't drink. But yeah, I drive them to drink. I guess that's what I'm getting at. Uh,
That's what I was getting at. I'm glad we agree.
so yeah,
Uh,
you and my in-laws have that in common. Um,
Hi,
but all right,
how you doing, Joe? You doing good tonight?
yeah, doing good tonight. Yeah, I've been less busy than you. You've seemingly been very busy this holiday season.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I had
what do you got going on?
I had a Friendsmas white elephant party that I went to, and then I had a work Christmas party on the next night. Um, and they were both good. They were both good parties, but that and then there's been a bunch of other stuff I've been trying to prepare for. I actually learned to make chocolate chip cookies. Well, I knew how to make chocolate chip cookies, but I learned a new recipe, and that was a pretty big hit. Uh, so I'm gonna make those again because I made those for the Friendsmas, the white elephant. But there was a lot of other desserts there, and so they really didn't get eaten as much as I thought they would. But like almost nothing got finished. Anyway, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make the cookies again, fresh for my work friends, and yeah, try to give them a treat before we all go on holiday at the end of next week. But yeah, it's just been a lot. It's been a lot of stuff I'm trying to do. How about you? You've been busy?
Busy enough. I mean, we had since one of the local parks around us had some Christmas lights they put up, so we took the kids the other night to that, and we had these spare glow sticks lying around, so we gave a kid each a glow stick to help, well, for their entertainment, but also to help us track them easier.
Oh,
In case if they
nice.
wandered off too far in the park, we didn't know how busy it was going to be. We had a really nice warm weather snap on like last Friday. It got really nice, and we're like, dude, this is going to be like the last time it gets this warm. Period. So yeah, surprisingly, the park was empty, which was awesome for us. But then the next morning, the glow sticks were still had some life in them, and my kid's like, "I want to play that game, like your game." Like, what game? Like, Grandma and Grandpa, and he holds up the glow stick and he starts waving it like up and down. I'm like, Beat Saber? And he's like, yeah. And so we went to YouTube, found Eye of the Tiger, hit play, and my kid then tries to play VR just based off of his two glow sticks and the YouTube video, and he's just flailing like really jam into it left and right and everything. And he turned around to his sister and be like, "Okay, you go back up. Don't want to hit you." because that's what we told him when the all the other cousins, older cousins were playing Beat Saber.
Mm,
It's just like, wow, your memory, like you can go back up to like a month ago and you have a clear memory of what happened. That's pretty awesome. I now have to be very careful what I do around you because now this may scar you for the rest of your life. Uh,
yeah.
well, it's like now you have permanent memories, and so but that also is it's an encouraging factor. Like, hey, we can now do really cool stuff, and hopefully you'll remember it like into the future. At least you'll have it, relative short term for him, but that's it was really fun. And then he handed it to his sister. Sister would then start playing. Uh, Grabbed my Street Fighter Ryu bandana, then wrapped it around his eyes like he was blind. But then that was his V. I realized that's his VR mask, and then he's blindly swinging to the VR. It's just I'm like, man, you are going to hit somebody, and it's going to be kind of funny. But like back up, tell the sister to back up, and give him all the room in the living room to do his thing, and then he hands it to his sister, and sister then doesn't know what she's doing. She's just like mimicking her brother. Yeah, it was totally cute.
They're primed
Um,
and ready to play some VR games.
yeah, though I did read someone just let their 4-year-old play VR just for a little bit. It was on Reddit, and apparently that kid got super nauseous and sick that night.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and so he's not, it's supposed to. They blatantly say it's for 12 and up. Um, my nieces and nephews have been playing my in-laws VR um, for since they were maybe 8 years old. So I think it's okay. Just limited time and exposure, and depending on what game you're playing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it
Because
was
like a little kid like that might not realize they're getting nauseous or where the source of the nausea is coming from, so they wouldn't know to stop and take it off or stop in game. They would
yeah,
just
especially
yeah,
especially depending on what you're playing. So,
yeah,
but yeah, so I'm like, all right, note to self, just don't necessarily let them play too soon. But luckily they could see what's going on TV. So I mean, that was the first time we ever played really any video games in front of them, because I just don't make it a habit of sitting on the couch and playing games while my kids are awake, because I'd rather have them do something that they want to do or do something as a family.
yeah.
That I surprisingly don't do a lot of movies that way too, because we were watching something I can't remember, and he's just like he's asking a lot of questions, and we're like, it's good to ask questions. I'm like, but it's kind of hard to explain that this alien just murdered this dude.
Yeah.
It was Resident Alien, and it was just like PG-13 or something. And I'm like, so like, or what's he's a doctor, so he has a scalpel. He's like, he's gonna cut him? I'm like, yeah, buddy, he's a doctor. It's okay.
Yeah, he knows
I'm
what
like,
he's doing.
he's like, yeah, he's aware of a little too much. I'm like, okay, maybe we need to, maybe this was a year ago, we could get away with it, but we can't really do that much now. So
Have
we
you
have to be a little more
ha-
cautious.
have you guys had to or been able to explain death to him? Does he understand death
Um,
yet?
no, doesn't really like kind of understands batteries are dead. That's really about it,
Oh, okay.
So, uh, but there's been no need to explain death to him at this point.
I was wondering,
Um,
yeah. That's
yeah,
like one
well,
of
I
the hard
mean,
conversations.
they, probably won't actually mentally like you can kind of explain the concept, but they probably won't get probably won't grasp it for another few years at least. Um, mentally, oh yeah, they're dead, but like emotionally, that'd be a different story. So, yeah, chances are our dog is going to be the first one to go, and then, but that's going to be still pretty young, so probably not for a handful of years more. So,
Oh, well,
yeah, not looking forward to that at all.
no, I don't remember whenever I learned about it, so it wasn't that scarring, but yeah, it's probably that's not going to be an easy conversation once you really have to explain it. But
Yeah.
for
So
another
we're a
day.
show about we're a podcast about video games and not necessarily mortality. But
Same
things
thing.
happen, right?
Same thing.
So we all die a little
Uh,
bit when we beat a game. We close that chapter in our life.
yeah.
But
Uh,
hopefully we lived enough while playing it.
for
So
real.
all right, speaking of video games, the video game awards happened since the last time we recorded. And so yeah, I'll let you take it away with some of the major winners.
Yeah. So I think we called it on this one. I'd have to go back and look, but Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. Um, I think we thought that, right? Like we wanted Alan Wake, but we were pretty sure it was going to be Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah, Baldur's at least I feel confident that it was Baldur's Gate, was gonna clean sweep most of it.
Hmm.
Alan Wake won way more than I expected,
It did.
and Spider-Man got snubbed, which, a lot of people were like, "Well, was it one of the Dark Souls games or whatever, or like got snubbed too or whatever?" And it's just like, but that everyone or Bloodborne or something like that, and everyone's talked how great that is, and I'm like, yeah, those are completely different games.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, just because a game doesn't get an award doesn't mean it didn't work, deserve it, or it's still not a good game. And also, some games won awards, and I feel like they did it just for pandering's sake. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
so Baldur's Gate 3, well deserved from what I hear. I would love to be able to play it. I just don't think I have that kind of life to dedicate. So,
Yeah.
because that's
It did also win role playing game of the year, multiplayer game of the year. Trying to see all the spots where it won, and
voice
then
actor. I think best voice actor
it
was
got
in for that.
it got player's voice. I'm just looking at the Google thing, so there might be a better actually might be a better place to find all these because I'm not seeing voice actor. But yeah, so it also got a player's voice. So I guess players were like, "Hey, this is what we think is the best game of the year." And then yeah, so it did pretty well. Looks like um, Alan Wake did win game direction for I guess for both from both Epic Games and Remedy. I don't really understand what that list is really about there, but so that was one thing that I did think it could do well in. It made sense for it to win because of the vision of Alan Wake is very pronounced compared to other games. So and that's where a director can really shine is in the vision. Um, yeah. So okay, Alan Wake 2. Yeah, best direction. Okay, this is probably better. Best narrative. Also, Alan Wake 2. Um, I'm glad that they recognized that. This is where Final Fantasy 16 actually got put in a little bit, but yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. I was afraid Baldur's Gate 3 would take that one as well. Art direction, Alan Wake 2. So yeah, I thought it could do well there. Best score, music, Final Fantasy 16. So they gave Final Fantasy that. I guess that makes sense. Um, best audio design, Hi-Fi Rush winner. I feel like we talked about that. I think I said that one could do that. Could do well because like the whole game like you have to have the good audio design, or else that game doesn't work out like at all.
Yeah,
Um,
audio design. I think I was less keen on it. I can't remember 100% now what we talked about to the extent, but I know for at least soundtrack, I felt that it shouldn't win that because it had some mainstream, like legit licensed music, opposed to music solely created for it. But yeah, audio design, yeah, that it is well earned, so there's no denying that.
yeah.
Um,
You were right
yeah,
though. Best performance, Neil Newbin, Baldur's Gate 3. Um, I was hoping that Melanie Libbard would win for Alan Wake, but it's not to be. But anyway, I have heard a lot about his performance in Baldur's Gate 3, and it's probably well deserved. Games for impact for a thought provoking game with a pro social meaning or message. Chia, TCHIA, that was the winner of that. I think we're getting through kind of the main ones. I guess best indie game is kind of interesting. Sea of Stars won that.
yeah. A weird one was best ongoing.
Hmm.
So best ongoing, uh, Cyberpunk 2077 won that one, which kind of then unthroned the Final Fantasy 14.
Oh,
And it's just like, yeah, well, because Final Fantasy 14, it comes out with new DLC all the time. It's always the best thing ever. Uh, and then they don't say best ongoing and then explain it's Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, the new DLC. It's just best ongoing. Wait a minute. So because your crap was broken and you didn't just leave it, but you kept on working on it till it got to an acceptable state and then better finally, like you fulfilled your promise. in that case, you should also be able to throw No Man's Sky up there because they're continuing to make that game better well beyond the case. They brought it to PSVR 2, and then afterwards they made it better on PSVR 2. They actually upgraded, they made the visuals look way better. So
Yeah.
that also then would have deserved to be up there. Because you got other games like Apex, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact, which are all service games, much like Final Fantasy in a sense, where there's a reason to pay to play and continue. CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk did not deserve to be there as an best ongoing game, uh, just because I'm patching it. I don't know. It was it was like a weird nod, like, "Hey, here you guys go. Here's a bone. We acknowledge you." I'm like, "Okay,
Okay. Yeah. There,
yeah,
yeah,
but
you're right though. Like, if you're gonna, nominate Cyberpunk, then you should nominate No Man's Sky. Because No Man's Sky's had a bunch of DLC and stuff too. Right? So yeah,
and it's
it's a
all
little
been
bit.
free. It's been, that's one of the crazy things about it.
And Cyberpunk's
There's
not designed to be an ongoing game. It's just had a bunch of DLC. It's like done now, right? Isn't this most recent one been declared like the end?
Yeah, so it was the only paid DLC. You paid for Phantom Liberty,
Yeah.
and that was the 2.0 patch they came out with, and then they came out with the 2.1 where it finally lets you use subways, like they advertised in the first, like one of the first trailers.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's but no, I mean, they have done a great job continuing with it. Just unfortunately, it came out at such a unacceptable state that it's like you're getting credit for fixing something that should never have been released broken.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's it's a weird one.
Yeah, these others,
That's
Apex,
yeah,
FF14, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, those are all ongoing games. Those will
yeah,
continue to go on. Yeah, so that seems silly to me. Well, whatever.
yeah. Well, so best VR, there was, this one was kind of interesting for me. Uh, so the nominees were Gran Turismo 7, Humanity, uh, Horizon, Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, and Synapse. So Resident Evil 4 came out too late. So
Mm,
that VR update, so it couldn't have been in there. So if it was, or if it came out a little earlier, then I believe that would have won. Technically, it'll be a nomination. You can nominate for next year, but having come out in December, I don't know if anyone's going to really remember it by then. I mean, it's such a great game that people might. Um, but the winner of that was Resident Evil Village, which is a great game. And I think it was a really tough category. I think Horizon was also equally an amazing game. Synapse is super awesome, but it's also very short,
mm.
and I think because of that length, like it's very short. It's meant to be replayed, but it's not the same impact, and it doesn't have the same story. So, and then Gran Turismo, with the steering wheel and setup, like that's an amazing game. But as far as that is great, like everyday play, like that is something you can come back to, play little bits of, and then just be done with it. Um, so it was a really hard one to win, to pick a winner, in my opinion. But uh, I think Resident Evil Village is a solid choice, and yeah. So I'm happy with that. There was nothing wrong with that selection.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's probably the right choice. But then again, I don't know too much. So you're kind of our man in the field, our man on the ground there.
Well,
um,
you got a PS5. Let's go.
I know, I know.
We can play No Man's Sky together in VR, and then not play
uh,
anything else, and then really watch this tank. We'll just be a No Man's Sky podcast.
yeah, we'll probably actually get more views that way.
Yeah, probably.
Best action game: Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. It doesn't look like it was up against the toughest competition. Hi-Fi Rush, might have given it a run for its money, but that's not really what Hi-Fi Rush is really going for. So
That was a weird one to nominate, and also Best Action was a really blurry category, just like Best Action Adventure. Um,
yeah,
I
they
I
didn't
felt
totally
that
snub Zelda. I kind of thought it would end
I
up with more, but yeah, I guess yeah.
no, I think I also don't think necessarily Zelda deserved to win this category, but I mean, you have to give. I felt that they Keighley had to give it to Nintendo for this one. Like, you have to polish Nintendo's boots in order for them, to show up the next time around. So there's some pandering, I feel. That's just my personal opinion. Because there's Best Action Adventure, Alan Wake 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, and then Star Wars Jedi Survivors, and then Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. So Tears of the Kingdom won.
I
Not my choice, but at the same time, you got to get you can't snub Zelda. You just can't do it.
Yeah, you can't snub Zelda. People get too irate about that. But I would have tried to find a way to fit Spider-Man in here somewhere. I mean, there's got to be some place that you can. I mean, you could you could cut you can cut something. A double winner on something. I could kind of understand wanting to give Fires of Rubicon, action game because that's like all it really is, I guess. But I would have tried to find a way to put Spider-Man in here somehow because it's not a bad game, and it's got if it's up there nominated for Game of the Year, then it's going to have a lot of good qualities, going for it. There's some place else that it could probably beat something, but it is what it is. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
uh, Super Mario Bros. Wonder won Best Family Game. Street Fighter 6 obviously won Best Fighting Game. Best RPG, I mentioned that. Baldur's Gate. Yeah. Any others that you want to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, like I said, it's hooray for Alan Wake for walking away with a lot more than I expected they'd let him.
Yeah.
So I was actually really happy with that. And a lot of other things came out really good. There was actually a lot of fairness in it. Like I said, Spider-Man, I feel like should have been recognized a little bit better, I feel, but at the same time, just because it didn't win doesn't mean it's not a great game. Um, I unfortunately have not got a chance to play it yet. It's on my most definitely want to playlist, but I just haven't had the time. And but I absolutely love the other Spider-Man, and Miles Morales. So I can't wait to play this one. But yeah, that's it, man. This year they had a lot of decent games. Unfortunately, uh, as the internet has mentioned already, not a lot of time for these acceptance speeches. They kind of after last year rushed a little bit to you got limited stage time, and it was a little unfair, in my opinion, because especially when you have Hideo Kojima coming on to talk like 6 minutes about nothing, and it's just like I don't care. I know Jeff Keighley is best buds with Hideo Kojima, and he wants to produce a lot of hype and a lot of
Yeah.
exclusivity to his show. So, I
They
mean, because one of the big things they were talking about beforehand was how many times they say world exclusive,
yeah.
from last year. And so that made you think there wasn't going to be any world exclusive. Nope, there was a lot of world exclusives on this one. They just didn't do the whole blasting in your face world exclusive. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, Roger that. You're still just saying world exclusive,
Well,
but not
you
in an
know,
obnoxious voice.
they might have Hideo Kojima might have paid for that time. So that might be the thing is like they just paid a lot, or maybe it was like a joint venture where you're going to pay us some, and we're going to make money off of this later,
I
because
think
it's a
I
big
think Healy
help
wants Kojima there
to
because
Keeley.
it generates so much buzz.
Yeah,
Everyone loves Kojima. They love his the BS surrounding him and all that stuff. So getting any tidbit of information and this being like the yearly drop of like literally drop in the bucket. Here's just a little bit more, and so lets all the fans just salivate, and it generates views and content and stuff because everyone's expecting it. And yeah, that's kind of it's very beneficial to get people up there. And a lot of people were criticizing, being like, "Hey, you should have two different shows, one for the awards and one for the trailers." And I'm like, because they're like, how weird it would it be if you're showing the Oscars and then you're just also like, yeah, and here's a bunch of trailers for movies coming out this year or something. It's like it'd be kind of weird. I'm like, yeah, but this is a different industry, and you got to especially without E3, you gotta kinda have to produce that buzz. You have to get everyone hyped, and this is the closest thing you can do to it. I mean, it's, um, it's more like watching the Super Bowl, but you do want to see the actual awards and the people who win it, but you also then want people to stick around for the commercials.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they mentioned a lot of decent trailers coming out, and so I mean, let's just transition to that. I mean, there was a couple really neat and interesting ones coming out. Um, so one of the ones I'm super stoked for is Pony Island 2.
Oh,
Panda Circus. Yeah, so I really liked Pony Island 1. I did not finish it because at one point it goes from really weird and silly and just kinda odd to, like, it gets really hard all of a sudden. It just ramped up really quick, and I'm like, I kinda got stuck at a little spot, and I'm like, I came back, got past that, then got stuck in another part, and then I forget, life happened, and I literally just put it down and never came back to it, but it's always been sitting at the back of my mind. And since then, they came out with, Inscription, and that was like
yeah,
that this last year, and that hit big. I think it was last year. And that a lot of people generated a lot of buzz for that, and so like, okay, that's on my, my wish list, but I haven't gotten around, to buying it. But because part of me is like, you got to finish Pony Island still, you fool. I mean, so the fact that they're coming out with a sequel would really push me to. It's probably not even going to be really related too much to it. In my opinion, like it'd be neat if it was, but it can be completely separate and it'll be fine. I think it'll be even better because not a lot of people really knew about the first game. Um, but yeah, I'm really hyped about that. I'm not sure if you saw anything that really called out to you. There was a couple really cool gems in my opinion. So Thrasher was another one. Thrasher is by the Thumper devs,
okay.
and it's kind of hard to judge what you're looking at from the trailer. I'm hoping it's a VR game. They haven't stated if it is VR or not. It's Thumper is both 2D and 3D or so that's kind of a cool thing. So I bet they'll do something similar is you can play it on a flat screen or you can play it in VR is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
But equally rhythm, equally cool looking.
yeah. Exodus looked pretty interesting. It's visually appealing. I'm it's gonna be one of those games where it's really it could be great as long as the gameplay obviously is great, but it's hard to tell. The shooting looks pretty cool and stuff like that. It definitely has like the I don't know what do you call it, the makeup, the exterior, the look of it looks good and looks like if you put the right feel to all the controls, then a decent story, that it could be a really big good game. Um, and it's
Well,
for
that one's done
X.
by the ex BioWare
I
devs.
was about to
So
say
you
yeah,
can kind of see the Mass Effect roots in there, which is great because it kind of provides that excitement of the old Mass Effect games. And if they can even hit like 50% of that, I think that would be really solid. They don't have to go to the extremes of Mass Effect, being their first venture as a new studio, or maybe I don't know if necessarily I can't say that for sure. I actually don't know if they've made anything else, but um, yeah, it's Archetype Entertainment, I believe,
mm,
and yeah, they have me interested. I haven't been kind of interested in a sci-fi story in a while.
yeah,
Uh, like as far as something like this goes, because towards the end of Mass Effect, I kind of burnt out, and of course they kind of tanked. Bioware kind of tanked all their franchises afterwards.
mm,
Um, so it was like, yeah, well, hopefully they're bringing back the good old days, and that's what I'm kind of excited for. Hesitantly excited, and of course they pull out Muse's supermassive black hole towards the end of that trailer, and I'm like, wow, I wonder how much this cost them. I'm really, really curious because, like, it's like I just think it'd be expensive to license that song for this trailer, but okay,
yeah. It might be a lot, but that might be because they have money to throw around. Maybe they have a
you
lot of
know,
people with a lot of faith in it, and maybe that's a good sign.
yeah. There was also the what's that Metaphor Refantasio, the Shin Megami team
Mm,
did Persona 3, 4, and 5. Their new IP uh, looks like a Persona-esque game and has a very unique flashiness. It's not the first time they've shown uh, you know this game, but it's this new trailer and it looked pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to get around to it because I didn't really finish 5. I just kind of lost interest, and
I
then
don't have time for a 120-hour game to just finish the bare story. Like, my goodness. Uh,
yeah, but those
wow.
games are so good.
I mean, they're
I really
good.
yeah.
Yeah, they're freaking great. I loved 4. I always wanted to play 5, but, you know, I that 120 hours is insane.
I
Like,
might have to play that remake of 3 they're doing though, because
yeah.
3 is really good, and I'm like, they're redoing it. I'm like, that's gonna be pretty great, I think.
Is that one
Uh,
super long too?
yeah, it's not as long, but it's still it takes some time to dedicate, but it's a very tonally different game. Not a completely different, but it is different enough. Just like I think from 3 to 4, 4 was slightly more lighthearted, and then I think 5, as far as like the stakes go, like I feel like each one got like more PG as things went on. And granted, some of the topics about going into the minds of other people in 5, some of that stuff was pretty messed up, but I just felt like it was in my brain, it's just a weaker game, like, because the original, Persona 2, the first part 1 ends the world. You know, they literally end it, and then they reboot it with the part 2 of Persona 2, and they start a whole new timeline,
Mm.
so that was yeah, that those Persona 3 famously, you call out your personas by putting a gun to your head. Um, so it's very, very different in
Bold.
that respect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very.
right? It's the old but then again, that game is what was it, PS2? PS1 yeah. So that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to a new game from the Shin Megami team just because it's them, and it's always fun to see what else they do. But outside of that, there's only a few more things that really came to mind. Uh, I haven't started the God of War, Ragnarok, so I unfortunately don't have no opinion on the Valhalla,
DLC.
roguelike DLC, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'll need you to check that out because you've already completed the game, I thought, right?
Yeah, it's already yeah, I completed it earlier this year or something. Yeah, I guess so. And it's yeah, so the DLC came out on the 12th. So I didn't know about it, so I'm gonna probably load it up, maybe give it a little try. I think you said it's a roguelike, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So it the trailer made it look more like a kind of a tournament or like a wave style thing. It was very short, and I've kept myself in the dark since its release because I didn't want to really spoil things too much for myself.
Yeah.
Because it is a game that it's been downloaded on it came with my PlayStation 5. I just was I just didn't have the time or dedication to really get into it and stick to it. And there's been so many other things that really been popping up that like, oh, I got to play that. I got to play that. And then I got my PSVR too. And then I'm like, yeah, my life is now kind of getting sucked into this. So it's unfortunate, but it's just waiting there. And I should just probably come like January, just move a chunk of time and just dedicate myself to God of War Ragnarok and just completely because I platinumed the first one
Yeah.
and I really liked it. It was solid. So
Well,
I'm looking forward to playing the second.
Ragnarok was very good. It was really good.
All right. Sega announced they had this throwback trailer with like of pure nostalgia and like they kind of just like all right we're gonna do one trailer and just drop a bunch of stuff. So they're bringing out remakes or of their old franchises. You got Jet Set Radio, you got Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. Um, it's that's all the old classics right there. Boom. Crazy Taxi looked like there was a you can play. It looks like there was a cop chasing you, and you looked like you can play as the cop. So there might be some multiplayer aspect in there. Um, let's see, Streets of Rage. That looks just they've been doing. They remade Streets of Rage 4, or I'm sorry, they came out with a new Streets of Rage game not that long ago, and that was pretty awesome. So having them, especially if they just reboot the franchise from the beginning, but I think they have a good foundation for making another good Streets of Rage game. Golden Axe looked like it was done it was a 3D, so they're taking that into a new aspect. But I have friends who absolutely adore the first two Golden Axe games. They're going to be like, "Hey, let's get on this and let's play." so they better make it multiplayer. If they
Yeah.
don't, people are going to be super angry. Um,
Yeah.
Shinobi looks beautiful. It looks super good. It's like kind of reminds me of Mark of the Ninja, that cell shaded art style.
Gotcha.
So I'm looking forward to that. And then Jet Set Radio. I love me just some Jet Set Radio. That's Jet Set Radio Future was probably the one I played the most of, but that game, yeah, they had so much potential, especially since they did that. Oh shoot, I'm gonna forget the name of it now. Bomb Rush something. But it's like spiritual successor to Jet Set, and so yeah, I'm thinking maybe due to success on that, or at least the high interest, they saw it might be worth bringing back the old game. So yeah, they just dropped one thing after another, and it was a good little trailer. But at the same time, like you could have gone more in depth on each one of these games, and people would have been super stoked.
Yeah.
But
Maybe they don't have enough
good for
ready.
them.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
they just don't have enough ready. They're like, we have enough to kind of tease all this, but we're gonna save the more information for a better for when we're in a better spot. But yeah,
yeah.
all that stuff looks cool.
Secret of Mana, our successor or another Mana series game is Visions
Visions.
of Mana.
Okay.
And I like me some original Secret of Evermore, Secret of Mana. So Legend of Mana was a little sad for me. That was a PS1 game,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of hoping that this fall, they do better with this one. There's been a couple of hit and miss Mana games as that I've liked and disliked, but I mean they did a throwback to some of the old like the old Mantis boss they showed in the trailer. That's like the first boss you face in Secret of Mana. So yeah, I think it could be really good. I really hope that they allow multiplayer. The That was one of the good things about Secret of Mana is it was actually a 3-player Super Nintendo game. You had to do a multi-tap, but you could actually play 3 players, and it did so many things right, and it was kinda hard to do anything else after that. Like, like, why can't you they've already done this. Like, they've already solved the problem, to a lot of things, so why can't you make more games like this? And they never quite hit that, mark ever again, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. Um, I don't know, it's just I use a healing item on you, and then you go down because the enemy hits you, but since I already cast my normal health, potion, it still works and it reses you. I'm like, "Yay, that's awesome." So if you know you're about to eat it, and you throw out a healing item, it's okay because you don't have to use an actual like revival equivalent. You can just use normal heals, and that was always cool. But being able to play multiplayer with friends was on couch co-op was always awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Hideo Kojima came out with his new thing. Like we kind of mentioned it before, but announced OD, and uh, despite not I mean, just it was the trailer looked really good facial captures. It looked more like a tech demo, just watching people talk and like their floating heads, and I couldn't care less. I mean, it was just I don't know. Then he's on stage. They bring Jordan Peele up there. He talks about how like he's a part of it, and they get whole like 6 minutes of stage time. It's just like, come on, guys. I don't care. You could have cut theirs and let other people talk more for their acceptance speeches. But once again, uh, Keeley has to pay tribute to Kojima. So as yeah, per the law. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's it's maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be really good. I don't know. But
I really dislike Death Stranding. I the concept of it in theory is like, oh wow, that's cool, but but the execution of it's just I thought it was
lackluster.
not so great.
Okay.
So I'm not looking forward to this thing. It's until it comes out. I'm just gonna be like, hey, I don't know what game you're making. I'm not gonna try to speculate, and like I have no more energy to spend on you.
Yeah.
Is how it's gonna be. Uh, they showed a really good trailer for the new Final Fantasy Rebirth. A lot of people are hyped about that. They showed a trailer for Skull and Bones, Ubisoft's old pirate thing that I also don't care about. But it was just like, hey, remember Black Flag? We're gonna make a game based on the boating tech in Black Flag, Assassin's Creed. Yep, and went just stayed in purgatory for a while, and now they're like, hey guys, here's a trailer. I'm like, cool. All right, next. Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of next, Arcane. Arcane Leon is doing a Blade, Marvel's Blade. So the
Yeah.
Vampire Hunter is now going to be in Paris.
Hmm.
So that will be neat. Um, you know, a lot of guff on Arcane because their last vampire game was pretty bad. I know, I beat it.
Yeah.
It was kind of a sickness, but it was okay with friends. But no, I honestly think it might be neat. It's because it's in Paris. It'll be a fun change of pace. I'm hoping, not everything needs to be done in New York. I was telling you about this before we started recording. I want to see Blade done in Texas or something like that. You know, a vampire in super hot heat.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Super bright planes.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. It'd be kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Or like instead of in Alaska, but instead of 50 days, the 50 days a night, just the wrong time of year where it's all sunlight all the time. You
Mm,
know, just
yeah.
try to have your way in and out game, right? But no, it's uh, I'm willing to give them a shot. I mean, Arcane's made a lot of decent, single player games, and so I think there's a lot of potential to make a good Blade game.
Yeah.
A vampire, Blade's a character who's underutilized. Um, that and also want them to bring back the Punisher. I mean, uh, I don't know if you ever played that Punisher game on Xbox.
No, I never
Uh,
did, but Punisher would be a good game. I mean, you could make a good game out of Punisher. I mean, it wouldn't even
that
have to be
Xbox
like
game
a
was amazing.
be
Had a
better
lot of
as
environmental damage.
it'd be better as not a first person shooter, though that would be tempting is to just go that way, but something you could do some pretty cool stuff with the Punisher. Make it really violent and gritty. That'd be fun.
If I remember correctly, it was third person when they made it last time,
Yeah.
third person shooter, and then you'd get a guy near like you were in a workshop and there's like a power drill, a drill press, and then yep, you slam down the drill press, just all sorts of like table saw, go at it, it's a lot of those kind of something similar to Sleeping Dogs,
Yeah.
just a lot of nice environmental death damage. So that was pretty fun. I'm a fan of Frank Castle. So, I mean, but Blade's generally a darker, toned character. So I figure make it, a decent length of violence, which should be good instead of having it's a nice offset opposed to Peter Parker, Spider Man, not hurting anyone really. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there wasn't much else that really struck my fancy. I mean, there was at least was it Hello Games? They came out with a new announcement for a new one called Light No Fire,
Mm,
and you know, so instead of doing the galaxy, they're just doing Earth, essentially an alternate like concept of Earth, and so this one looks really neat. Um, it's going to be just there's a lot of possibilities they can do with this, especially looks like it might be a lot more curated instead of like audio, procedural generated from so you'd have a lot more things to do, better fleshed out. And I'm kind of curious about this one, and I'm hoping didn't announce it, but I can't see why they wouldn't put this in VR, and that's what I'm hoping for. I If it doesn't come out in VR, then I probably won't care, but I'm really excited about the concept of this being in VR. Um, Having it more, well, pun intended, I guess, grounded, will be nice because instead of wandering aimlessly in No Man's Sky, sometimes I just prefer to have a lot more uh, structure to a game. And this one, even though they might have all sorts of things, and who knows, they might have you go underwater or underground, you know. But I think that they will have. They've learned a lot from No Man's Sky,
mm.
and I'm excited to see what they can do with this, especially with all the support they give. Um, that's anything they do now should be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I'm saying a lot there, but
Well, yeah, it should be,
uh,
but also remains to be seen.
yeah. I mean, those that was like the last big one on my list, so
Yeah.
not really. I don't. I This was mostly me talking here, but I know that there was a few things that you found interesting, but I think I covered most of those. So
Yeah,
sorry, mate.
I think we got it. I think we got it. We'll probably talk more about some of these games as it's revealed whether or not they're actually going to be more promising or less promising.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Uh, and I guess now to what we've been playing. So I guess I'll kick this off. So I've been playing. that new Resident Evil 4 remake for PSVR 2. Uh, that dropped, and it's been a lot of fun, but it's been a learning curve for myself. So I did not play a lot of Village. Mostly, I own it, and I, I played a little bit of it, but the reason why I didn't get too much into it is because I have to hook up my PSVR 1 again because I want to play. I never finished Resident Evil 7. So that's why it's one of the things that mentally I'm like, I want to play through 7 before I play through Village. Um,
Mm.
but playing having played 4 many times, and then I played the majority of the remake uh, on my Xbox, and then I stopped when I heard they're coming out with the VR, and so yeah, that way I can really get into this. But my the way you hold the way you grab weapons and stuff is with the middle finger, and you use the trigger finger obviously to shoot or depending on what you're doing. So I instinctively will hold my pistol, but then I'll go to reach for my ammo or my knife, and I'll pull the trigger instead of using my middle finger. And so as I'm doing it, I'm trying to squeeze it. I'm like, why isn't my knife being pulled? And I'm like in the middle of panicking, or I'm trying to grab my ammo, and it's like it just didn't feel right. And then also I'm like, oh, you're just a dummy. You just need to, I'm using the wrong, instinctively grabbing the wrong button. So took me a little bit to get used to that. Um, I'm not having the blurry effects that some people are having, like, but I'm also playing with my TV off, but some people were saying if you take out that border tracking off your TV, that will help. So I'm not really sure about that too much. But as far as visually, it's a stunning, it's amazing. I'm having a much easier time with this in the beginning than I thought I would be, mostly because I feel like knifing is way easier in this game. I flail. I just like wiggle my knife back and forth, and I just stab the crap like spamming. And I feel like you can get damage way faster than you could in by controller in the default game.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I haven't beaten it yet. I'm nowhere near beating this thing yet. I haven't even got to El Diago yet, the boat scene, and that one apparently has gotten people some motion sickness. So I'm really curious
I
how I'll
bet.
do with it.
Yeah, on a
Um,
boat, it might be pretty wild in VR.
yeah,
As
right.
far as motion
So
sickness get really ramped up to 11. Um,
yeah, I mean, I've heard people who are pretty good with VR and be like, "Man, I should have taken some Dramamine beforehand or something." They're like, "I got done with that scene and I lied down."
mm, mm,
So I'm like, "Huh, we'll see." But no, it's a lot of fun. I'm very glad I got it, and they did a really cool thing. Is like they had it on sale prior to Black Friday. Then right before Black Friday, it got taken off sale. But then literally like the day before, or like that the DLC dropped for the VR mode. They had the base game through that weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They had it half off, so it was like $30.
yeah.
I mean, that was a really cool thing. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things people are complaining about on the VR subreddits, but for me, I don't really find it much of a problem. But then again, I don't have the experience that like a lot of people have played more of Village, and for me, it's like the shotgun, one shell reloads the entire shotgun. I'm like, awesome. A lot of other people are like, no, I want the realism of loading each individual shell. I'm like, no, dude, I do not need that realism. I want the one shell and done, and let me go murdering again. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
there's a way to balance it, but you have to make it fun. If it's like boring to watch someone load 2 shells into a shotgun or 6 shells into a revolver, then it's not fun. It's boring. Like,
well,
you need
they
to
like
make
the
it cool.
tension. They like the tension behind it because one of the things
Yeah.
for Village is you could hold your hand up with the shells, and then it'll automatically start loading all the shells up, and how many ever shells you need. So it kind of did simplify it. Um, if you wanted to, I suppose you can load each one individually, but if you just held your hand, at the receiver, it automatically start loading all of them. It just took a little time. But because Resident Evil 4 is a little more fast paced, I can see them, wanting to do that to help out. One of the things they did mention before, like the developers before it came out was, yeah, you can. you can do a one hand shotgun cock like Terminator. Just drop it and just, chuck chuck, and then I'm like, I guess if you want to, it's really silly that I'm glad you can do it. It's silly. But I haven't. I'm like, I'm not gonna mess around with that. Um, but like I said, I didn't see it as a problem. I actually see it like, hey, I'm glad you simplified it. Maybe if you want to have it in the options menu in the future patch, be like, hey, here you can make it more realistic, quote unquote. I'm like, give me. I like the arcadey fun. It was a little weird. I wasn't sure what to expect with the melee moves, and so they do a lot of pulling back, watching Leon do a kick, zooming in, and it's not as jarring as I thought it would be. Honestly, if you flipped around with Leon, I think that would be motion inducing. So,
Yeah.
uh, there are some weird things that like you expect to hit things in VR. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go up to pull open the drawers or smack things. Um, it's like unfortunately, you can't. I mean, that's just how it is. A lot of people are complaining that you can like a lot of the items you pick up in the world. It's like just press X to pick up, and I'm like, that's for me. That's okay. I don't necessarily need to go down to the ground and grab every piece of ammo. Let me just look down, press X, and just warp it to me. That's okay for me. I mean, the easier you make it, I think actually that's not such a bad thing, especially when you're running around like skirting like a bunch of zombies and you just like I want to quick grab my ammo and then keep on going and then either murder or run away. I don't necessarily need it to be one to one realism. Uh, that's I'm playing it for fun that way. That's kind of just like any video game that makes you actually, first person shooter. If you're not automatically picking up the ammo as you run over it
Yeah.
in a modern first person shooter, people are going to be irate. You're making me stop and press a button to grab ammo. That's ridiculous. So I kind of consider it like that. It's like the more streamlined you can make it, the more arcade fun because that's what I think of these games. But yeah, it looks like I said, there's almost no game. There's very few games that have this level of polish on it. I'm very glad Capcom did this, and it's like I said, it was for free. That's really dope. I mean, considering the fact that they made separate ways, a $10, you know, DLC add-on, and granted, like that, it's okay. It's for $10, it's worth it. I would have expected them to do a $10 charge for this too, but they didn't. So that's awesome of them. And that's all I got to say about it at this point. I mean, I'll play more. I'm sure I'll talk about more of the game. Having a lot of fun with it, and it's, you know, uh, yeah,
It's
that's
good.
it.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I'll cut in here. I'm still playing Alan Wake. Hadn't had time to finish it. Did get a little bit further, but I still have probably another 5 or 10 hours left to go. So yeah, I'm just probably gonna have to. I don't know. I'm gonna be traveling over Christmas too, so it may be around New Year before I can actually get enough time to get all the hours in that I need. But I'll keep chipping away at it, and still very good.
Yeah, you got to beat this one. I really need to talk about this game with you.
I know. I know.
I
I
mean,
will.
yeah, forget Zelda, forget all the other games. I don't remember what else you played this year. I just know
No,
Zelda, you came
yeah,
really
I'm.
close.
This is the main game. This is the only game that I'm going to play whenever I play anything until it is beaten. That's sure. That's for
Uh,
sure.
so yeah, the other game I've been playing is well, I played for a day and like a day, not even a full day. But I played Modern Warfare 3. They happen to have this at my local library. I picked it up and I'm like, yeah, why not? It's supposed to be a short campaign. And yeah, it's totally a short campaign. I
Mm.
played for like one night and I'm I'm almost done. I'm like at least three-fourths through the game. It's campaigns like maybe I don't know 6 hours maybe. So it's fun. It's action packed. They give you a few more open. They actually have these open world levels now, and it kind of lets you come at the objectives in your own way, so you can be as stealthy as you want. They litter the areas with ammo crates and special like loot to find, so you can upgrade different weapons and slightly different playing styles. I think it's a fine game. I mean, some of these open world maps, I personally don't necessarily. I think it's easier than previous games. Uh, and I think that's kind of a bummer. I prefer their I like their scripted corridor sequences. Yeah, just make me go from point A to point B. Um, don't give me a lot of variation because like a little wiggle room's okay, but not the complete open map that they're doing. But I guess it's a quick way to use some of your assets for your multiplayer maps that you already have. Um, but yeah, it's just, it's a fun story. I kind of forgot how the previous story ended with a lot of key sequences. All I remembered was it ended in Chicago with a really cool bit that was different from the first game. Yeah, it was just you got to go, rappel down, down a building, and then you went in and infiltrated, and yeah, that was a fun bit. Um, so I had to kind of jar my memory, be like, yeah, what's with these people? What's going on exactly? Because the end of two is very different from the end of three. Or I mean, the end of two from the original compared to the remake of Modern Warfare 2, very different. Um, so certain characters are still alive that weren't in the original games. And so yeah, it's just I've enjoyed my time with it. It's gotten a lot of flack, and yeah, I understand it's a shorter campaign. Uh, but I always wish that Call of Duty games had campaigns separate. Let me pay 20, $30 and I'll just buy the campaign mode from you. I don't want any multiplayer because I could not care less about that at all. Just F you. Uh
Yeah.
I don't want to play with anyone else. Uh just
It's a
give
different
me my
thing. Yeah, it's a different
yeah.
experience. And you've already got the assets there. I mean, I guess it's just monetarily it just doesn't make sense for them to actually spend money on creating a good long, 15, 20 hour campaign. It's just sad because it's like such a good, such a well-made product as far as all the mechanics are concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, let me play a campaign and only download 60 gigs, not 130.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Well,
yeah, and that's
assets might still be pretty big and taking care of most of that, but
well, they're downloading all the multiplayer crap with it too,
yeah,
though. That's the thing.
yeah, it must be.
Um, but though it is weird because now I'm physically seeing for the first time that Modern Warfare 2 wrappings that everyone was complaining about
Yeah.
because it literally lets you pick between the Modern Warfare 2 campaign and the Modern Warfare 3 campaign. I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird because to have them, but they don't have Modern Warfare 1 in there. And if you had it all set up in one UI, that would actually be almost better. So you can have the trilogy right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and like I said, I'm enjoying my time with it. I'm glad it's short. I'll play it for, I probably have a few more hours left of it and I'll be done. Um, maybe next time they'll make it a little longer, but it's exactly what I come to it for. Just a little, like a fun action packed adrenaline thing and I'm done.
Good.
So,
Good deal.
yeah, yep, that's it for what I've been playing. So what have you been watching?
I started watching Frieren, the or Beyond Journey's End is the subtitle there. I've watched the first 4 episodes. It's really good. It's really, really good. The animation quality is fantastic. It's a nice, quiet story, very wistful and kind of nostalgic, I guess, in some ways. As if nostalgia could be a theme, I would say that sort of seems to be running through it. But yeah, I'm excited to watch some more. I did pick up the manga and start looking through that a bit. I think that the anime is doing a good job of translating the manga or interpreting the manga in a way that is not easily apparent while reading it. Um, because like the manga, you can just go from frame to frame, from panel to panel, as quickly as you want, and it doesn't really have that lingering aspect, um, just because there's not enough space. But in the anime, they're able to rest on more of the scenery and kind of hang around and kind of watch some of the characters without a whole lot of noise going on. And it's just really it's the vibe is captured very well, I think, in the anime so far. So yeah, it's going to be 28 episodes, I think, overall. Just started this past season, So they're probably on, I think, on 14 or 15 by now, um, or 14 probably by now, and then
It's like
they'll.
11 or 12 dubbed right now.
Okay,
So
I know 13
yeah,
has. I know 13 had dropped whenever I was looking around at it like over a week ago. So I imagine 14 is out, and then I don't know if they're just gonna if they're gonna take a break, or if they're gonna dip straight into the
they
new
should be
season.
going straight into it.
Okay,
It's yeah, I've mentioned this one before. It's a really solid anime. I'm glad you got into it, or you're getting into it. Um, it kind of has, like I said, I nostalgic or melancholy in a way, a lot of
yeah,
ways,
there's
because it's
melancholy to it. Yeah,
yeah, because it's that somber, like it's a very unique perspective. To get a brief synopsis for people out there, essentially,
yeah,
um, the concept is the mage is an elf of the heroes party. They defeat. It starts off with them already defeated the demon lord, and essentially they all agree to meet up in the future. Uh, and because the elf lives ridiculously long, uh, the concept of time is always very different, and therefore it's like, yeah, so we'll meet up next time this meteor shower happens, and I'll show you a really cool spot. And they're like, that's going to be in another 50 years. Like, yep, I'll see you then, and that's it. It's like next thing, like flash forward, and then it's just like, you know, realizing how people age, and her regret in a lot of ways of like, I could have been spending my time differently to get to to getting to know people even better, but not realize, but because her idea of time is so much different, and that's essentially the journeys that she goes on, and
yeah.
it's really interesting that way. It's not very it's not very action packed. I mean, it has certain action
It
scenes,
has
but
a
it's
couple. Yeah,
mostly, yeah, it's just mostly like watching them go through their routine. And like even that first episode, like you'll see just in a bunch of flash cuts over that span of 50 years, they show a merchant, selling, in a shop, and then later on, like they show the same shop, but the merchant is like very old. So, but in their, in her mind, it's kind of just been like, just a few weeks kind of concept, or a few months. But yeah, it is a interesting twist, and it's a nice perspective. Uh,
yeah.
Funny enough, the Faraway Paladin season two brings that up too, about elves, and like, hey, if an elf says, if elf says like, see, they'll see you in a bit, that means it could be a year. But if they, at one point, an elf gives a warning saying, "You need to go there," and so then all of a sudden, or like, "You need to move," uh, someone else, a different elf goes, "We need to run now," because if they're saying they need to move, if you need to move now, that means it's already like too late. It's like, because they're usually so much slower. So if they're saying it's urgent, it's like mega urgent. So that's
Oh,
kind of a fun perspective that I never really thought about growing up. But I'm like, yeah, I guess so. If your concept of time is so elongated, but no, I highly recommend it. Anyone who likes a chill, anime to watch, to go ahead and give this one a go. Especially if you like anything like Mushishi, um, or Natsumi's Book of Friends, something like that. It was, it's very much in that kind of vein.
mm,
This one's a little more comical. Has, it does a good job overall. And you're right, it looks really good.
yeah,
So I'm happy to continue watching this one for the next season for sure.
yeah. I think it's done by Sony. Um, I don't know why I think that, but anyway, the studio that does it is it's kind of a bigger, nicer studio, and it's anyway, it's good to see. But yeah, I've been enjoying that. I've been watching a couple other little things here and there, while I'm cooking or whatever. But I'll probably talk about those things another time.
Yeah, all right. I was just trying to see if I can find out the that studio, Madhouse.
Okay.
Uh, that's who's doing it. And
That's all.
yeah, for me, let's see. I've kind of been a little bit all over the place. So one real quick correction is, last time we talked, I was talking about the that Half-Life 25th anniversary documentary, and I said it was No Clip, but it was actually, um, so the actual it was directed and edited by Danny O'Dwyer
Yeah.
of No Clip fame, but this was actually produced by Valve and by Secret Tape. So I just wanted to get that little correction out there. There's actually no like no clip like branding to it, but it's
Mm,
Danny O'Dwyer, so that's where my mind went. I'm not sure, exactly how much that's all entailed, but because of that uh, Half-Life documentary, which I really recommend people watching, is really good. I also went back and watched the old Black Mesa no clip documentary. So Black Mesa, if you don't know
mm,
what that is, that was their project to revitalize the old Half-Life into to remaster it essentially. It started out as a little mod, and then throughout time they ended up getting permission by Valve to go ahead and release this as a paid DLC. Uh, and yeah, it's just the long journey of that, and it's really cool. I actually bought it years ago, but it was an unfinished product at that time. They hadn't finished the last portion of the game, and so yeah, I never really got around to finishing it because I'm like, yeah, well, it's not done yet, so I'll just wait, and whenever they come out with part two or something, I'll buy it, but then I'll play the whole thing. But it turns out I think it's all in one package. I just didn't realize, and like I hadn't realized it finished because it's been in my library forever. Yeah, lost in the with all my other games in my Steam library. But yeah, so that might be a new future project for me to go ahead because it got me really wanting to play the old games. The version of Half-Life that I played was the old Source version, which
mm.
was like their second one, which is widely regarded as not the best version. um, so when they remade it, and that was, I think they went ahead and they actually fixed up some of the issues with the old Source version as well, from what I heard. But I'm gonna probably just play the Black Mesa because that documentary does a lot of good insight on there, and they really reimagined the last segment of the game. Um, and I'm trying not to say it. There's still a lot of people who haven't played that game. I'm not even sure if you never really got a chance to. Um, so yeah, but the way that a lot of love and care went into it, and so I'm really kind of excited to see how they did that.
Yeah.
So, all right, that was just a quick correction on those things, and yeah, the only other thing I mean, I've been watching some anime here and there. They came out with, so they finally dubbed Undead Unluck, and so I'm kind of excited about that because that had gotten a lot of buzz, but I just didn't feel like having to go through another sub.
Yeah.
And so that yeah, because it's getting dubbed, this one rough concept. It's a Shonen Jump property. Um, Essentially, girl finishes her manga and she's like her manga is like, yep, I wish I could have had a love like that. Time to end it. And so she's about to end herself when she's interrupted by this guy with no shirt, and she's like, "Stay away from me. You can't stop me. And if you touch me, you're gonna die of a disease." And so he's like, "Great." And so he grabs her by the face, and like one-handed grab. And he's like, "All right, so how's this disease supposed to work? Is it gonna hurt from the outside, the inside?" And then she's like, he lets her go, and she's like, "Chief," he's like, "My unluck is about to hit you." And like he's standing on a bridge, and the bridge breaks off, and he falls and he gets hit by a train.
Mm.
And you're like, "Oh, that dude's dead." Then his head flies around comically, and very much like Deadpool, he regenerates. Uh, yeah, so this is all about a guy who can't die, hence the undead. And they take this into a comical effect of being able to uh, use his regenerating powers to he makes himself fly. He regrows his shins and at such an alarming rate that it explodes, and he's able to fly through the air that way. Like they do a lot of really odd things, but it works out. It's a I can see why there's a lot of buzz behind it, and I think it's a fresh little comedy. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm totally into watching it. It's gonna be a 24 episode series. uh, the fact that they had announced that from the beginning, that's the show's promise. Um, yeah, Shonen Jump has done a lot of decent stuff of late, and I think this is going to be up there.
Cool.
So
Very cool.
yeah, the only other thing I think I have to talk about, there was they recently redub or like released something else in English too that
Mm.
I'm like, well, I'm not sure how much I'm going to talk about it right now, so I might hold off on that. But yeah, outside of that, I've done. I went ahead and went through a an audiobook recently. It was Artemis. So I didn't know anything about this. I was when I picked up Modern Warfare at the library. I just happened to see the audiobook there, and I went ahead and took a look. And it's by um, Andy Weir, and he's the author of The Martian. And you actually you knew his most recent works, which I couldn't remember. I can't remember what the name of that is already.
Yeah,
Um,
whenever you tell me that you are starting to get into this audiobook, I was like, Andy Weir, I know that name. So I actually just finished an audiobook of his most recent one, Project Hail Mary, which I think is his longest one, at least because The Martian was 10 hours, which I didn't read, but I just kind of looked it up. And then Artemis is 8 something, I think, and
it's yeah 9. It's listed as 9.
9 then,
So
and then Project Hail Mary is 16 hours, so it's a little bit longer than the other ones. But yeah, I kind of I thought about talking about it on this podcast a while ago, but I guess we were kind of busy or didn't really fit in. But it's really good. Andy Weir's a really good author in general, and Project Hail Mary. After you finish Artemis, if you like it at all, or even if you don't like it, you should definitely read Project Hail Mary because it is really really good.
yeah, I was a fan of Artemis. I did finish it. One of the things that caught my eye was it was actually read by Rosario Dawson, which I was like, wait a minute, okay, yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, the most recent series Ahsoka, I knew her from Sin City. She's been doing voice acting for years. She was in Dishonored games and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
she
So,
was, wasn't she?
I mean, yeah, so I was actually, pretty surprised that they got such a big name, voice, a person to do the voicing for this, and yeah, it was really entertaining. They do a really good job. The rough synopsis is, um, girl is, this woman is on the moon, and we have this is maybe like 100 years or so in the future. Uh, we have a couple moon, moon colony, but divvied up in a couple like domes, and she's a more or less a port smuggler, and accidentally comes across a conspiracy plot.
Mm.
And that's it's like kind of it's a slow beginning, and then it ramps up, and it has a really good momentum carrying it through from like like mid half like to the end. It was just like it was very well done. There's a lot of times where they just it feels like they almost talk about nothing, but does such a good job about talking about the science behind things, or at least alluding to a lot of the physics and just the way it's written is really awesome. Someone passes out, and it's like it's really nice passing out on the moon because it's a it's a slow fall to the ground, stuff like that,
Yeah,
or like try to get into a fight, and someone from Earth trying to get into a fight with someone from the moon, and they're like, they overshoot their punch, because they're not used to the physics and stuff like that. It's like, all right, some or even communications. It was all really well done. And I'm like, yeah, totally. I can see the correlations between this and The Martian being like the same author, just because of that level of technical aspect going into it. But also because it was only 9 hours, I'm like, yeah, this is totally doable with with my time. And yeah, I'll most definitely recommend this one, and I'll take your recommendation up, and I'll try to find and go through that audiobook for Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary. So
yeah,
yeah,
I will get to Artemis eventually, uh, but it'll. I think there's another book that I wanted to get into before that, but I'm glad that you liked it because it's been recommended to me before.
yeah, it's like I said, it was really easy. I did it while like I did some yard work, and I was listening to it while cooking and stuff like that, and it's like, all right, cool. It's just it's really nice enough to have in the background. So I found that to be pretty pleasurable. I'm currently going through a different audiobook right now, but I'm going to go ahead. I'll talk about that later. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that is it for me. I believe you're done as well, sir.
yeah. I don't. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for listening to this episode 59 of Another Dead Pixel. And until next time, Nick, give them some words of advice.
Um, always, uh, always give away your first barrel of eggnog, but not to anyone that you want to stay alive.
You got to give someone the test batch for sure.
Yeah.
All right. uh, good way to make it enemies for life.
Mm.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys, for sticking to the end. And until next time, you all take it easy.
Bye. So, what are we here to do, Joe?
All right. So my gift arrived early, the one that I sent to you. And I would like you to go ahead and unbox this thing. You can take a look at it, and that way you can give it a good, proper test run before, in case if you don't like it, then, we might as well get you something that you do like. But I'd rather have, let you work it out first. Um, don't worry, this isn't unmentionable that you will refuse to show on the podcast that from last year. Uh, yeah, or actually 2 years ago now, maybe. So
I
so
think it was
ashamed
last
of your
year.
to be fandom.
I think it was
So
it was yeah, it was last year. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open this. So here's
sure thing.
okay, I didn't show anything. I almost showed your address, but
That'd been your address.
yeah, it's true, but it has your name on it. A gift for you. Oh, this says part 2 on it.
There should be part 1 in that package too. There's supposed to be part 1. You don't have if there's not 2 different items, then
I guess
we'll you
see.
got one jacked.
Oh wait, I think there's more. Christmas. Well, this thing says a Christmas gift for you. Hope you enjoy.
Yep. So the first one, originally the arrival dates were about 5 days apart.
Okay.
And then the one that was supposed to be sent out second ended up they sped up the delivery and shipped it all together. So
okay, so this is the 02 dynamic driver in-ear monitor. This is awesome, dude.
yeah. So it's the Solnotes 7 Hertz, or by 7 Hertz. It's the 02 is the new model. So I have the previous one. I actually picked this one up like just a few months ago, and then they, surprise, surprise, a new one came out, and yeah, I actually rather like like them. It's a very entry level unit, but it's punches way above its weight class and for what it is. But the other one I had, which was a slightly step up from that one, that actually didn't feel that comfortable, like in my ear. So I actually went and I'm continuing to use the other ones. So yeah, that's why that's the main thing is I want to make sure I had a good fit and a good comfort level for you.
Yeah. So I need to try these on. And then you also got me a high quality earphone cable. So
Yeah, so the big key part of that is you got to open that stuff up so you can look at the colors, man. All
okay.
about the bling.
All about
So
the sexy bling. Okay, that's
man,
going.
yeah, see this, you could have really worked that ASMR tactic here,
Oh
just going
yeah.
at it with your teeth and such.
Oh yeah. If only I was a hot girl, then it would really work.
Hey, just remember, there is someone out there that you fit their profile.
It's true. I haven't found him yet.
Or you could just keep on doing your OnlyFans thing and just show your feet and then pretend you're a girl.
I know.
That seems to rake you in quite a bit of cash.
Oh, not enough though. I have expensive tastes. Yeah, these are a lot smaller than I thought they would be based on the box. Which is good.
These ones fit just like the predecessors fit just perfectly, like in my ear, which was kind of worrying because it has some jagged edges, and I'm like, oh, is that just going to rub really weird? But it actually surprisingly doesn't.
I came with a bunch of nubs.
Yeah, there's a big variety of colors there.
Right. Okay. Here it is.
So yeah, that one is it's like a crystal blue, like a see-through blue.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if the metal plate on the front, if that's actually a slight blue or not, but the previous one was just like silver or black.
Seems right. that's fits in there really well. Wow.
Good. Yeah, and then once like I said, you can play around with um, the cabling as well. So the way I was looking at it too is these are blue. I'm pretty sure they have an orange tip or a red tip or something like that, and then I
This
got
one's
you the
red.
purple cable. Because I know you're a big fan of purple.
Purple.
As if your XLR mic cable is also purple, so
That's true. That's for the
and I
show though.
figured
The show's colors
well,
are purple,
and
teal, and
that's
orange.
exactly what the color scheme I threw at you too. So you got enough colors for the color scheme.
And then I guess these go
Yep.
in this.
So
Yeah.
they'll connect, and that way they loop around. So sorry, bro, not wireless, but
Okay. Well,
y-
send it
yeah.
back. It's fine. It's great. And I'm opening the. I don't have anything sharp right here to cut this dang thing open. Okay.
Now, I'm not sure what audio receiver. I'm not, I don't think you're using a DAC necessarily, so you probably have a receiver for your turntable. So you
Mm.
might need a 3 1/4 inch, you know, cable jack.
Here is the
So
purple. It's
yeah,
kind of
that's
nice
a good
actually.
color, purple.
It is a good color of purple. Wow. The rope on this thing is serious too.
Yeah. So I mean, like I
Very
said, just
nice.
you could play with it and see how you like it, and then you'll see if if for some reason if it doesn't work out for you, maybe we can go ahead and I can get my money back as well. So,
No, this is great.
uh,
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
well, hopefully it's something you use. And yeah, like I said, I got the predecessor as well to a buddy of mine, a few like on their birthday, back in fall, and they seem to be really liking it. They're like, "Well, I'm not sure if I'm using it for its intended purpose, but I use it for like these like certain scenarios." I'm like, "Dude, it's fine. Just use them for however you want." Especially if it's like the thing is if you're enjoying them, then that's fine. If you don't want them, then just buy. It's like it's not for everyone. So the only most of the reviews I've seen on the 02s there are positive. The only one person I saw that they were like, yeah, it's I have to push them in a little deep to get the proper sound that works for me. And he
Mm,
goes, but that's like everyone is different when it comes to their listening styles. So but yeah,
all right.
I'm hoping you're like that, and we'll end up recording another little bit when you send me when your package arrives. So, but
Yes.
like I said, I just wanted to make sure you got a hold of these and got to test them out. We have luckily thanks to Amazon, return windows are extended thanks to the holiday season.
Mm,
Bam, there you go.
there you go, dude. That's awesome.
Yep.
Um,
Now you just need to get an AVP decal and just vinyl sticker it over the actual outside. There you
yeah.
go.
Yeah, you can totally do that.
And then tattoo that ADP teardrop tattoo that you're planning on getting.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that's in the works. That's definitely in the works. Just back in. Try it with the rope on. Okay. Okie dokie. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, now I gotta. I think this will definitely. I mean, I have extenders too. This should definitely reach. This cord feels very substantial as well. Very nice. Thank you, Joe. Thank you
yeah,
very
not
much.
a problem, man. Merry Christmas. A little early, but yeah, and then hopefully, yeah, like I said, hopefully that all works out for you. You did send my wife her gift. She's keeping that wrapped up till Christmas.
Okay.
So,
Um. Okay. Then.
or do you want her to open it? Because I can let her
No,
know
no,
if
no.
if it's
She can totally
okay.
leave it wrapped till Christmas. I could tell you what it is if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't even remember the name of the anime that you told me. Uh, I did at the time. What was it called?
It's Tenchi.
Okay, I got her a poster of that. I looked around for a couple different posters. There was not. I thought there'd be more on Etsy. There's a couple little things on Etsy, but there's a pretty good amount on Redbubble. So I was like, okay, and I had a little bit better choices there. So I grabbed something from there, and I think she's gonna like it.
All right, yeah, I'm pretty sure she will. I mean, it's just yeah, we ended up she just like a year ago picked up a T-shirt with a crossover between that and Sailor Moon, or not Sailor Moon. It was My Little Ponies and Tenchi. So all the characters were done as pony styles, and their cutie marks were all Tenchi related. And it was just funny because she's actually got a couple comments from just random people at work, and she works for a pretty big company. And so it's just like it was a low key way of finding out who the otaku nerds are. You know, she's like everyone else just looks at it and kind of sees like a pony thing. But it's kind of funny. It's a little sneaky that way.
Nice.
Uh,
Very good.
yeah,
Low
I think
key nerd shit. I love it.
a friend of mine would call it like level 9,000. You know, when you get like a patch or something, or like on your jacket, and it's like the Capsule Core logo, and so like only Dragon Ball fans would understand it's a Capsule Core logo. And then, but it's just subtle things like that. That way you can show your fandom without screaming like otaku nerd. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to have those low key, signals that are like, this is cool. And if you don't know what it is, then you just think it's kind of an interesting design or whatever. But if you do know, then you're like, oh, it's an interesting design. And I'm picking up what you're putting down there.
yeah, actually, I picked up a really nice courier bag kind of thing from when I was in uh, when we were in Japan. It was um, just outside of Nagasaki, and they have a Jump store, like a Shonen Jump. Uh, and I remember we went there before. Uh, was it before My Hero Academia came out? And so we walk in and we see this giant cutout, like almost like one scale size of All Might, and we're like, "Who the heck is this Joker?" We had no idea. Just these, the blonde, smiling dude with like antennae, like hair, and we're like, "Wait, I have no idea what this is." Little did we know that within like the next month, the anime dropped, and we'd all be fans. But at the time, I picked up this bag, and it's just a like a military green bag. It's just a solid color and really nice, quality. And then it just has the Red Ribbon logo. It just says RR, and it has just the little logo on the bottom, and that's it. It's just like nothing else. And so when we were traveling around the area, we found this little, you know, item shop or whatever, like in just some sort of gift shop. They made random pins, and so I found like they had a Dragon Ball scanner, just like where it literally looks like a scanner. You see a couple dots on there, and so I'm like, yeah, I bought that little pin, attached it to it. So even if you saw that, you'd have to know what the Dragon Ball scanner looked like, or you'd have to know what the red ribbon logo was, and it's kind of funny. So I was like, yeah, that works out real well.
That's awesome. That is
All
so
right,
cool. Well, cool.
all right.
Thank you,
Well,
man.
yeah, and like I said, we'll record another thing when your package arrives, and then I'll do the unboxing there too. But hopefully, this will all be in time for this current week's cast. But if not, who cares?
It should
We
be
still have a couple
there.
weeks
It should
before.
be there like probably by tomorrow or something. I can't remember when it was exactly, but I remember looking at it and seeing that it was very close. So should be there any day
All
now.
right. Well, great. All right. Well, until then, see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Do you want me to do the gift wrap unwrapping now?
Yeah, I guess we could do it now if you want.
All right, sure. I wouldn't dox you anyways because of it's my address on this dang thing. So
Mm, I think I basically did dox myself last time. I just had to blur it out in
all right,
post.
what do we got here? All right, we got here. I am willing to show the mouse pad that I got you
That's
because,
because there's not an exposed asshole on that mouse pad that I got you.
hey, it's your preference, not mine. I mean, you could
No,
have just been like, here's the
you
mouse
picked
pad,
out the mouse
and
pad.
you can just cover the center
I guess I
and
could
be
have done
like,
that. Yeah.
ta-da.
Yeah.
But no, it is now that you've heard nothing but crinkling on my end. Uh, I am forgetting their name now, but I'm pretty sure that's uh, the main goddess from Is It Okay to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Yes.
And I'm drawing a blank on her name right now.
Uh,
Um,
me too. uh,
she's
dang
not
it.
my favorite waifu out of that anime, so but it's a good gift. I'll use it. It'll replace my normal wrist pad. Um, though granted, I have a desk mat, so that's the most of the reason why I don't need a mouse pad, but I'll use it gladly.
Hestia. Hestia.
Hestia, yeah, the Hestia family, familia is yeah, she's
That's it. Yeah. I remembered that you liked that. And I was like, well, I was looking around for something to get you. And I was like, okay, this,
it's a good anime. It gets better. She gets better as the series goes on because she's in it less.
I know.
Um,
And I was like, I got to get you back a little bit for what you did to me last year.
I was that's a little tame. I mean, granted,
Yeah. Cause I'm not going to
um,
get you one with an exposed asshole on it.
they're
You
clothed.
could actually
I mean,
use, you could actually use what I got you. Sort of.
I dude, you had a gift receipt. I told you you can return it. I mean, you should
Yeah.
just own it
I
and
don't
then
remember you
regift it
telling
to
me
your
that.
dad.
I don't remember you telling me that, but maybe you did. I don't know. Anyway,
Uh,
um,
totally just regift it to your pops and then be like, "Here, dad, I think you need this for your wrist,"
the
and they'll
balance,
be really thankful.
yeah, balance is restored. I have another gift for you, but it was wrapped up in some stuff that I ordered for myself. So I gotta
Okay.
get it and send it. So you probably won't get it until after Christmas or right before. But yeah, I'm gonna try to do that maybe this weekend if I can.
Yeah, well, now that you've returned the favor, now we can have the fun game of escalation.
Oh yes, escalation can begin.
Um, there's the Halo ODST, uh, part of the narrative dialogue. It was funny because that's one of the things they talk about is escalation,
Mm.
and that is every time I think about getting back at someone, all I can think of is ODST. Um, and so yes, the game's afoot now. It's been like what 2 years since I got you that mouse pad.
I think
So
it was last year.
uh, was it only last year? Man, it's been a long year. And yet not long at all. But all right, we'll
Yeah.
go ahead and yeah, look forward to your birthday. That's the soonest thing coming up. So
Well, your birthday comes next, so I might
bring it,
I
bring
might
it.
beat you
I
to
will hang it. I will display it on the wall behind me.
it.
Luckily it's a little blurry, so it's okay.
Yeah, you gotta be
It's mosaiced already,
like,
so
yeah.
we're good.
You better hope it never fails. You better hope the Mosaic software doesn't go down.
I'll upgrade to a real camera with a real lens, and then it'll be officially bouquet depth of field. There we go.
Okay.
All right, but thank you, and I will legit use it until my kids are old enough to be like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Nothing. It's garbage. Just drop it."
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
So I guess we'll do the cast now.
yeah, uh, but also fun anecdote. We were in Japan with
Mm.
Prison School had come out,
Oh my
and
god.
so there was a cutout, like an actual like life size cutout of like the vice president or whatever, with all cardboard except for the chest, which was all mouse pad material. And it was like it was just super funny because it's like, yeah, you're in the middle of a bookstore, and then there it is. And so yeah, they also sold cell phone covers where the back of the cell phone case was, whatever, like different female characters and with plush padding. So explaining that one to my in-laws was pretty funny. Uh, you're like, yeah, we're in Japan. Like, they're like, hey, we're going to Akihabara. All right, no judging, guys. This is just the way it is. Just
Don't
accept it as that, and you'll have a better trip.
don't anybody look each other in the eye while we're here.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let's get to it.
All right. So I'll probably cut here.